live with some Final Fantasy DevSecOps talk. So, I am playing Final Fantasy XIV because I said I was building a guild, and I meant it. So, the DevSecOps Dojo is something that we run all the time. It's a Discord group. You can check out the DevSecOps Dojo if you want to play games with us or just ask your DevSecOps questions. So anyone who has questions about DevSecOps, CICD, that sort of a thing, we benchmark our cloud infrastructure with cloud gaming infrastructure. So we determine if the things that we're doing are going to be stable, if they're going to work appropriately, all that good stuff. If it can't run a game, then it might not run business software the way that we might want business software to run. And if we're trying to build continuous technologies for continuous integration, DevSecOps, that sort of a thing, then why not test your infrastructure with games? Because it's a lot more interesting. So we've been teaching this sort of a thing for a while now. And some of the more popular questions that I get include things like, what is CI/CD? What is DevSecOps? So I'll start with some of those questions and answer those first. So DevSecOps has to do with basically developing in a more secure way with security considered upfront at the beginning of the process. And one of the things about Final Fantasy is if you've ever gone to play an online game, online games are actually configured with servers. So if you want to go and play Final Fantasy XIV, you're going to have to deal with licensing, you're going to have to deal with getting your licensing configured, and you're also going to have to get used to things like, let's take a look here, you'll have to get used to things like understanding terms of use and things like materials usage licenses. Making games a great way to learn business concepts, learn how to practice business on your own in a way that's sane, where ultimately if you get a DMA takedown from not following these rules appropriately, it's not the end of the world, and you can also have some fun while doing it. So as long as you are following the guidelines of the content that you're using, this is the business side of software. When you don't use someone's terms the right way, then you learn the real world way, how you should be actually using your software the approved way. So even just getting into Final Fantasy XIV, one of the other reasons we started using this in the DevSecOps Dojo is if you want to know if you have hardware that's going to basically be enough for you to run a CI/CD pipeline, or if it's going to have the resources that you need to basically run your business. If your systems can't run Final Fantasy XIV, then there's a chance that your system might not be good enough to run business. So just by seeing if you can run Final Fantasy XIV, you might then be able to find out before learning the hard way that, oh, why is my CI/CD pipeline not working? Why is my infrastructure not working? Why is my cloud so wildly unstable? Why am I getting drops and crashes? Well, simply learning how to get a game to run at stable frame rates. Well, let's take a look. What are frame rates? If we go over to some of these settings somewhere in here, we can see in the top right corner of this little menu here, there's this thing that says FPS right by the little X there, and it goes 47, 48, and this system that I'm using right here is doing more than just playing a game. It actually has something along the lines of 64 cores and 128 gigabytes of RAM, but it's also running this stream right now, and it's also running Underground Nexus infrastructure with a CI/CD pipeline under the hood. What does that mean? Let's find out. So if we go back to hopping out of the game for a brief moment, we can take a look at how we can build automations for basically setting up things like cloud streams and things like this. So right now I'm streaming from a cloud environment. What if I wanted to have, say, a cloud data center? I could come over here and grab some code. Code. See, it says code. And then we can clone the code. Clone that code. And we can come over here and we can say, run CICD. And if we just go ahead and give ourselves... So if I want to stream Final Fantasy XIV, I'm playing games or something. It's the Underground Nexus project name. Then we can call this... We'll just call it Stream Automations. Why not? Final Fantasy XIV Stream Automations. So I'm going to build a little more of this every week, every Tuesday, and I'm going to build an actual streaming studio, which is basically a hypervised version of the hardware that I'm using. So right now I'm using an actual physical server, but I'm going to actually hypervise this server with CI/CD so that all of the things that make this stream possible can be shared and deployed without me having to go manually configure another one of these if I wanted to create another broadcast station. And I'm also going to launch my broadcast station to my YouTube channel. I used to have this 24/7 YouTube channel. For anyone who's noticed that my 24/7 stream has gone down. My 24/7 stream has gone down because we're going to rebuild it as the Final Fantasy XIV Stream Automation Center, where whenever I'm doing these Q&A sessions, we'll also be able to broadcast in a unique way. Why not? So I'm going to go ahead and leave this private for now. We'll go ahead and create this amazing new project. Oh, it wants some stuff. Project URL. Oh, I have to choose some stuff. We'll call it. We'll put it somewhere. Okay, let's just create this project. Let's do this. So, what I just cloned here is I'm making what's called a Git BIOS for Final Fantasy XIV streaming, for deploying Final Fantasy XIV stream servers that have tools and resources to spin up my Final Fantasy configuration so that anyone who's played Final Fantasy XIV, your macros and your attacks and your moves, you have to do things to move your attacks around. So if you want to play Final Fantasy on a different system, then you have to migrate your configurations to play it on a different system. And if you want to not have your Final Fantasy XIV account that you spend hours on getting hacked, you want to also focus on having things like security. So, for now, with that being said, I will get more into how I'm going to actually build a streaming studio and suite, and we're going to just go back to playing the game. So, what's the point of all these automations is as I go through all of this stuff, it'll be easier and easier for me to commit to things like, oh, I can stream at a specific time. Right now it's very challenging to stream at a specific time because we have not built all of the infrastructure out to make streaming a quick and easy experience. It can take a few hours to get your game set up so that you can actually go up and start building an online stream and build an online community like what we're doing is we're building a guild. So, with that being said, anyone who wants to ask any specific questions, I'll see if there's any specific questions that are direct right now, because I haven't been checking any of the chats. For the most part, in the future, I'll only be checking questions and answers in the DevSecOps Dojo. In the beginning, I'll see if I can keep up with anyone's questions that you might be asking in other channels, like LinkedIn. So if anyone's on LinkedIn, I'll just check briefly to make sure that we don't have any specific questions. And then anyone who wants to come join the DevSecOps Dojo, there's a link tied to this that you can check. And by checking the link, you will be able to join us in the game. So I got one question. Can you use the Underground Nexus to automate the leveling up of your character? You know, that's a good question. There might be some ways to set up some CICD to come up with some grind ways. I know that you can use money to level up, so if you CICD something that makes money, sorry for the echo. If you CICD something that makes money, then you can pay to level up in Final Fantasy. So you can CICD cash flow pipelines and level up with your cash flow with Final Fantasy as well, which Final Fantasy does have a subscription. So for anyone who's trying to do that, then you can also play for free up to level 60, so there's hundreds of hours. So anyways, check out the DevSecOps Dojo, bring your CI/CD questions, and we'll be back on streaming what's going on and some more DevSecOps. So that being said, come game with us. We're gonna get building a guild, and feel free to join our guild because, hey, I'm gonna automate all the boring things, and then that's gonna let us just focus on building a guild so that we don't have to do the boring things. So have fun yourself. Come play some Final Fantasy if you want. Join the dojo and chat if that's what you prefer, if you don't like the game. And we'll catch you next week because Tuesdays.